Good morning and welcome to day one of Reset Week. And today we are talking about self-care. I also want to say that if you're watching this and you try to get on the devotion this morning, or if you try to get on this call and you were not able to, their Zoom is messing with my mind a little bit, and that's okay because I am more than I've been told and I can figure out Zoom. So I'm working on getting the links all right and in the emails and all of that. I think the best way to have the right information is to go to subscribe to the calendar or send me an email and I'll just add you to the calendar invitations and you'll get the email. Um, I think you get it like 10 minutes before the call or something like that. And it should have the right link on it. It should. We'll see. Um, what else? So I'm doing devotions it's 6 a.m. my time. I'm in Mountain Time every morning this week. So if you are up and at it or just barely awake and you want to click the link on your phone and not be on video, that's totally fine. You can just listen in. Or just subscribe to that devotion this week in the Bible app or whenever, and you can do it at your own leisure. And it is so good. And I just want to say, I was planning on doing a different devotional for this week. And then when I went into it, I realized that it's a 7-day devotional. And so I came across this one and I'm like, I think this was the one I was supposed to do all along. And they're very similar, and by the same author, but they're so good. Okay. Today's topic is self-care. And I really don't want these calls to be very long. At least I don't want my teaching to be very long. If you guys want to talk and discuss and whatever, like I'm all for that. I just don't want to be talking for a long time. And that's not always easy for me. Okay, so I would love, and if you want to put it in the chat, that would be super great for those of you that are on here. And if you are listening to the replay, just kind of think about or even write down when you hear the term self-care. Is it a term or a phrase? I don't know. It's 2 words. What comes to mind? What do you think of? Anybody want to put what they think of in the chat? Or maybe what you thought it was in the past. What comes to mind when you think of self-care? Whoa, coming out with the big guns. Boundaries, yes, 100%. Yes, I think it used to be tied to bubble baths, manicures, but now the phrase has exploded to be so much more richer and fun and not fun and so much deeper. I can read. Um, yes. So that's what I'm thinking. You may have thought that it was manis and petties and bubble baths and a spa day, or maybe even a vacation. Doing things that will help me feel good and be the best version of me. Yes, you're ahead of me. Drinking water, moving, time with God, all the areas of my will just teach for me. And it's different for each of us. Yes. So yes, all of that. And in the past, when we thought of it as manis, petties, vacations, whatever, a lot of people, that's what they think of, like self-care is is these things. And I have come to realize that those things are more pampering. Those are like what you do to treat yourself, kind of like cake. It's kind of like dessert, um, which there's nothing wrong with any of that. That's all good stuff. And it's fun stuff if you like it. I personally don't like getting a pedicure. And so that is not self-care to me. I'm looking. There we go. I was way too close. Okay. Um, I Googled self-care, and this is what Google's AI says, because when you Google now, the AI comes up with a description. So this is what Google's AI says that self-care is. It's the practice of taking care of your own health and well-being. It can include physical activities, mental activities, spiritual or social activities, and leisure activities. It can help you reduce or eliminate anxiety and depression, reduce stress, improve concentration, minimize frustration and anger, increase happiness, improve energy, be there for people who need you. And I say yes to all of that. I think that is the real definition or explanation, I guess, of self-care. And it looks different for different people. Some things are very similar, but there are different people need different self-care methods. And basically this whole week is focused on self-care. Everything that I talk about is essentially taking care of yourself in one way or another. I'm moving my notes to be on the screen. That just talk amongst yourselves while I figure stuff out. Okay. So this whole week is talking about self-care. How can we better take care of ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our relationships? And I think of self-care as the foundation of how we're taking care of ourselves. Pedicures, manicures, all of that stuff is above and beyond and extra, and is fun and enjoyable and a treat. But I think of self-care as kind of the basics, the foundations of what you're doing habitually. And I think that our habits and routines, so the things that we habitually do, our self-care routines, they're either intentional or unintentional. Like we're just kind of going about the day and not intentional about self-care. So we're either taking care of the self that we want to be, or we're taking care of the person that we are or have been. And it's just, there's no intention to it. And it's just, I am who I am because this is the circumstance of my life. I don't have time. I'm not being intentional about it. And I think of this in along the lines of caring for your true self, the person that God created you to be, and the false self, living not as the person that God created you to be, just getting by. And really, we're never all in true self or all in false self. We're straddling the two. We're going back and forth. And as we are more intentional about our self-care and about caring for our true self and putting intentional time into that, the more time we're going to spend living as our true self, the person that God created us to be. If you're wanting to live more into that true self, to improve whatever areas of our lives, it takes being intentional. We're not going to just accidentally be walking in God's purpose for our life. It takes intentional, purposeful thought and action. And like I said before, self-care applies to all areas of our life: physical, mental, spiritual, relational, how we show up in our relationships. Um, and if we're living on autopilot, our habits and routines are just, it's just what we do because it's what we've done. We're just continuing to get more of the same. And if you're happy with that, bless up, keep going. But I think that when we are believers, we are always wanting to align more and more with God's word and what God has for us and what God wants for us. And when we are honest with ourselves, we're not quite meeting that, which also I want to say we can't. Like, we're human. So the only time we're ever really going to be our true self and living in perfect alignment with God's purpose for us is when we're in heaven. So there's always going to be some of that false self. We're always going to dip back into it. And the self-care way to do that is to recognize I'm human and not allow the self beat down, the negative self-talk, the shame and guilt that we heap upon ourselves. That is all false self. So recognizing I'm human, it's okay, I want to do better, these are the things I want to do, that is living more and more into our true self. I don't know if this is going to resonate with anybody, but yesterday morning, I usually listen to Elevation Worship on Sunday mornings, or I turn it on. It's at 7:30 my time, and I get turn that on, and so I have church before church. And yesterday I was so excited because they sang Rattle, and they don't sing Rattle on a Sunday morning very much anymore because they have so many new songs. And this song, it just gets me. And I think about where I was 5, 6, 7 years ago now. And this song is about, if you haven't heard it, so these are the lyrics that really get me. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. And it's from a story in the Old Testament when there was like a graveyard of bones, and God brings those bones to life to fight a battle. And it's about Jesus in the grave. He's dead, coming back to life, and God moved the stone. And I relate it to myself. And even though I was a Christian, I have been a Christian all of my adult life. And still, I feel like there was a point in 2019-ish where I came back to life. And I say I woke up. I woke up. But this song really, like, my bones were dry. I was going through the motions. I didn't have many expectations because I was just kind of numbed out and doing what needed to be done. I was teaching Sunday school. I went back to school and got my master's degree. So I wasn't just like laying in bed. I was doing things, but I was sleeping through it. And singing this song, and yesterday it hit me all over again. Like, my dry bones were rattling, coming back to life, and God opened the grave on my my great sleep, or whatever it was, my avoiding real life, and I came back to life. And it's hard. It's not easy. Life can be hard, but it's so worth it. And so when they sang that song yesterday, it like hit me all over again. And then I went to church And I could not stop crying. And my mom was there. She's in here. I think she saw me. There was this sweet little mama holding her baby, and he was, I don't know, he's maybe 6 months old or something like that. And she had him in a front pack. And this baby was looking up at his mom with just like all the love and adoration. And she's worshiping God. And he's just looking up at her, watching her. And I couldn't stop crying. It was ridiculous. And then they break out and sing I Speak Jesus in worship. And I'm like, oh dear heavens, I'm done for. Like that song gets me every time. So I really think that Rattle kind of like it softened me. And then I went into church and I feel like I was more open and more open to the experience and everything. And oh, good. My mom couldn't actually see me crying. I turned to my husband when they started I Speak Jesus, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And I'm like, it was ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So I don't know if anybody relates to that, the walking through life numb without having expectations, just going through the motions, even though you might be doing great things. I watched a lot of baseball. I drove my kids around. I was doing all of the things. Anybody from the outside that didn't know me wouldn't know, but I knew. So when I sing Rattle, like it means all of the things to me. It's it's that story in the Old Testament. It's Jesus being raised back to life, and it's me and my awakening back to my life and like re-engaging. Okay, back to self-care. which which is like I was not taking care of myself. I was not taking care of me. And so as I was taking care of my kids, I was taking care of my family, but it wasn't the real me. It wasn't my true self taking care of them. It was a dimmed, oh, that's going to make me cry. It was a dimmed version of myself that was raising my kids. And I'm so glad to be awake. Yes. When I was a principal, I was numb, going through the motions, keeping everyone else alive but myself. Yes, totally. So self-care, like I said, it's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's relational. And we're going to hit on most of that. Friday, I'm going to talk about physical self-care, and we're really going to focus on the physical self-care of weight loss. And most people, for basic physical self-care, it's pretty similar. It's some version of making sure that you're hydrated, nourishing and energizing your body with food, getting good sleep, moving your body for strength, for flexibility, for endurance. And so we're going to talk about all of that on Friday with the weight loss lens, resetting your weight loss. Tomorrow and Wednesday, we're going to be talking about mental and emotional self-care, which is all of the good stuff. It's where everything else comes from. So I'm excited for that. Thursday, we're going to be talking about it's mostly it's relationships, but it's from the lens of your expectations of yourself and your expectations of others. And because it's so important, the way that we take care of ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all creates how we show up in our relationships with other people. And what kind of relationships do we want to create? And that comes from really how we take care of ourselves. And then also on Friday, So tomorrow and Wednesday, we're talking about mental and emotional self-care. Thursday, we're talking about expectations, which really translates into relationships. Friday, it's physical self-care with the weight loss lens. And then also Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. my time, I added an open coaching. So if anybody wants to come live and get coached on any of the topics that we have discussed or whatever, then we'll do live open coaching on Friday. So that's kind of all of the self-care aspects that I'll be talking about. And then, so right now, if you have a piece of paper or you want to come back and do this later, or you can even, if you want to put it in the chat, I have questions. And actually, I think I'll copy and paste these in the chat too. Copy. And I'll also on the recording, I'll paste these onto the page when I do the recording. So what does your self-care look like right now? What are the things that you do intentionally to take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally? And looking at those things, are you taking care of the self that you want to be or the self that you've been? And I'm just going to read through them all. Are you just doing what needs to be done and not being intentional about self-care? Or are you being intentional and doing the things? And then if this is an area, which, and I think like we all have specific areas that we can work on, but describe the person that you want to be. And this can be difficult for some people if you have not been intentionally focusing on self-care and setting goals and self-improvement. If you have been recently where I was at, in that just going through the motions, this could be really difficult because you can't even imagine a different version of yourself. So it might take some time to really allow yourself to imagine who you want to be. Like, and if you're having a hard time, like, to open it up, maybe think there are no limits. There are no boundaries. If money wasn't an obstacle, if time wasn't a constriction, if I could live anywhere I wanted to live, like if I could change everything, like you have the power to do that in your imagination. So just allow yourself to imagine what you haven't seen. And that's what faith is. The evidence of what we hope for without seeing it. And if all that we can see and all that we can imagine and all that we can believe for ourselves is what we've already been and seen, then that's all we're going to get. So when you can open yourself up to the possibilities and like have just a little tiny glimmer of hope that, oh my word, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could go in ridiculous amounts of debt to get my master's degree to be a school counselor and do that job for 6 years and then quit it to be a full-time life coach. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. I definitely would not have thought that 6 years ago. Like, no way. So just opening the door just a crack and incrementally dreaming And that's, I think that as women, as wives, as moms, we lose the ability to dream. We grow up thinking we're going to be a princess or a ballerina or a lawyer. And we have all of these big dreams, and then life happens, and we, have to make dinner and do laundry and change diapers, and the dreams fizzle to the point that we don't even remember that we dreamed them. So, what is the dream version of you? What does her day look like? And it could be like that. What does her ideal day look like? And not if you're in a job that you hate, doing things that you hate, like none of that exists anymore. What does her dream day look like? What does she wear? What size clothes does she wear? What style clothes does she wear? What colors does she wear? I always think it's so funny. If I wear like red lipstick out, or I don't know, I wear purple most of the time, to be honest, but like my purple hair, whatever, people will come up to me, and like, to be honest, I'm not out in the world very often, but sometimes like somebody will say, "Oh, I wish I could wear that color lipstick," or, "Oh, I wish I could put purple in my hair." And I'm like, you literally can. You can. You can wear whatever color you want to wear. But do you even remember that you wanted to wear that color? Remind yourself. I'm like going all over the place. I'm sorry. So what what does she wear? What size? What style? What colors? How does she feel? Like throughout her days, what are the feelings she experiences? Is she confident? Is she bold? Is she audacious? Is she sweet and um caring? Like, what, how does she feel? Does she feel loved? Does she feel treasured? Does she feel unstoppable? Or does she feel it? I mean, no, your ideal version does. Your ideal version does feel. The numbed out version, she's suppressing all of those feelings. So, how does she feel as she goes about her days, just in general? What's her relationship with God like? What do her other relationships look like with her husband, friends, family, kids, church family, whatever? What, like, because typically how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if we have a relationship that is whatever, not what we want it to be, we probably have several, not all of them, but several. And I hate to break the news to you, but you're the common denominator. Everywhere you go, there you are. And then what does she dream of? What does this version of you dream of? What more does she want? I dream of owning a beach house, a condo or a beach house. Like, I dream of that and I want that so badly. That is one of my dreams, to have a place that I can go to anytime and be on the beach. And what is she achieving, or what is she working on achieving? What are her goals? What are her ambitions? And then, like, as you have this picture in your mind or a description on your paper, what does her daily self-care look like? How is she in that ideal version of herself? Because maintenance is not easy. You have to keep taking care of what you have. What does she do on a daily basis to care for herself physically, her body, her skin, her hair, her nails? Like, what does she do to take care of herself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in her relationships? What's her daily self-care look like? And then what is something that you can start doing today to implement one of those things? Or if you want more, like, whatever it is, what can you start doing today that is taking care of that version of yourself. And I don't know if anybody can think of anything, put it in the chat. I put these questions out there and then I can't think of anything specifically. But I think that version of me that has the house on the beach, like I know where my finances are, so I'm paying attention to my finances. I am I'm taking care, like if I have a place on a beach, I want to be able to wear a bathing suit. So I'm taking care of my body. I'm, eating in a way that keeps me at my ideal weight. I am exercising so that I stay strong and I don't look flabby in my bathing suit as much as possible because I am 52 and hopefully I'm not too much older by the time I reach this goal. Um, so I'm doing things to take care of the body that I want to have. I want to be able to enjoy being at the beach and be able to move and be strong and be agile and not afraid that I'm going to get knocked down in the waves if I'm walking in the water. So those are some of the things that I'm really focusing on when I am that version of me. And always I want my relationship with God to be priority. So I'm spending time in the word, I'm doing my devotions, I'm praying. So whatever that looks like for you, that is your assignment for the day, is to paint that picture of who you want to be, who your dream version of yourself is, and like really paint the picture in detail, all of those questions. And then what does she do to take care of herself? And what can you start doing now to take care of that version of yourself? Any thoughts, questions? You can unmute and talk, or you can put it in the chat if you have anything. Let's see. I'm afraid to look at my email to see if anybody tried to get in and couldn't. Oh, yay. No, I don't have any emails anyway. Thank you for being here. Good list of journal questions. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so I will be uploading the replay today and I will post, I have a lot of things to post and figure out Zoom. It's fine. It's fine. I can do it. I can do it. And like, here's some self-care for you. When you think you have it all figured out and it doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go, believing that you can figure it out and that you can take care of it and that it's not a failure, but it's a learning experience. Like, I am learning from this. Now I will know next time that the Zoom links change when you duplicate the calendar event. And that is good information to have. Um, oh, this is hard for me considering my age. Why? You're going, like, however many years you have ahead of you, you're going to have it no matter what. So do you want to be working towards a new, improved, different version of yourself, or do you want more of the same? And if you're totally content and satisfied with where you're at and who you are and where your relationships are at, where your body's at, like, keep doing what you're doing. And also, if there are things that you're like, I could do better at this, this could be better. I might not understand how it could be better, but maybe it could. Like, what would that look like? Yes. How about dreaming for the day? What could today look like that is a little bit different than yesterday or different from the last time I did this thing? I love that. Let's dream. Let's dream for today and for the future. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is fun. I hope that it is helpful, and do the journal exercises. And even if you're like if you just sit down and contemplate, it's so much better if you write it out. But even if you sit down and just kind of contemplate it and paint the picture in your mind, it's helpful. Yes, I love that. Yes. Dream that when you're 85, you're just as healthy as you are today and maintaining that thing. I love that. So glad you asked that question or that you made that comment. That's good. Okay. Have an
Thank you,
amazing day.
Shanna.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I love it. Very fun. Okay. Have a beautiful day and go do something to care for that ideal version of yourself.